we will be changing the strings and doing a resetup of my acoustic electric guitar by Seagull. Previously they were medium, so it was set for a medium, and then when I switched them to super light, I changed the setup for super light strings. Because the song I was playing needed a lot of bends, but I kind of missed the real deepness of the bass notes and stuff, of the thicker strings. So I kind of want to go back to medium, test that out again, and make it tougher on my fingers. Fingers need a workout. And this won't be a professional setup type, because I'm still very much a beginner and I'm still learning. But they do make some gauges, especially MusicNomad makes some gauges that make it very easier for beginners to kind of jump in and set up their guitar and learn little by little until you get more experience. I'm going to set it up, so there may be some mistakes. I'm still learning, but this is how I'm going to do it. First, we're going to start off by removing the strings and doing the yearly maintenance, which is going to be cleaning the fretboard and the frets and all of that. You're going to want to start to loosen the strings. You can kind of work in reverse if you want to. I like to go with the smaller strings, loosen those up first a little bit. Of course, it's easier if you have a tool that helps loosen it up, and not doing it by one hand like I am trying to hold the camera. And after we loosened all the strings, we need to remove the pins. We'll be using this MusicNomad pin puller. Just make it easier on your fingers. Yeah, see that one wouldn't have came out if I didn't use this pin puller. See, it was really in there. Sometimes they come out easy, but yeah, just make it easier on yourself. And one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're going to change strings a lot, there are places that recycle these strings for you. There are different ways to buff the fretboard, and one of the ways I learned is just to use steel wool, and we're using the 0000 steel wool, and it does make a lot of mess. So I'm going to be doing this outside, but just imagine that I'm just scrubbing and buffing the fretboard, and I try to hold the guitar upside down so that it goes down this way, so none of it tends to fall into here, or at least reduce the shavings that could fall in there. It would just be too messy in my room. But just imagine that I'm just doing that, just buffing and buffing until I just feel like, okay, it's had enough. Okay, now that I finished cleaning the fretboard with the steel wool, I carefully removed any of the shavings left behind. I try to really get into the cracks of the fret as best I can. Though I've seen other people use a razor, but I'm a little too scared to use the razor to clean out the fretboard. I almost feel I'm going to cut it or make some kind of mistake with the razor. Now we're going to use the fretboard oil on the frets for the yearly maintenance. We have here the Dunlap Fretboard 65 Ultimate Lemon Oil, and I think it says here you can't use it on maple, and I think also ebony maybe fretboards. I'll need to double check that. But first, before you use it, you shake it up, you do a dab. I mean, not that kind of dab, but we do a dab here, just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. Small dab, and you're gonna go parallel with the frets. Usually that one dab will be enough. Get in between the frets. Yeah, because that one dab, you'll kind of hear like a click. You just need to do it once. But I guess when you first get it, you may have to do it once or twice, but for it to kind of get to the point where it starts, but I've been using this for a while. And also, I guess another tip for the Dunlap, put it in a bag, because one time it fell over in the storage and it was getting everything oily. Then you work in the oil into the fretboard with the clean towel. This year we're going to be using the Frying Fret Polishing Kit, and we're going to be polishing the frets, and we're just going to start with one and work our way down. All the frets will be the same size. My frets are the medium one. You're going to use the fret here, put a bit of the Frying Fret polish onto the microfiber suede towel, about a pea amount, they say. It's gonna be a little bit difficult one-handed, but yeah, we're gonna polish the fret, really work it in there. What I do find a little funny about the Frying Fret polish, it says that even though the fret polish, if it gets on the guitar, it will not damage the guitar, but please remove it immediately. Okay, but yeah, and we're just gonna do that for the rest of the frets. All right, we finished polishing the frets. I did see a small difference. It just seemed a little glossier. I guess there really isn't a big difference because we already buffed out the fretboard and the frets along with it, and the frets were just already nice looking. But with the fresh polisher, it did add just a little bit more kind of glossiness to the frets. We're going to be spraying with the MusicNomad all-purpose guitar detailer to make it a little easier with the strings out of the way, a little bit on the body. I mean, we don't have to go too crazy. We'll probably be wiping it down again later, but just for now, since everything's out of the way, lightly just clean it up a little bit of the neck. All right, I think we are ready to replace the strings now with the medium gauge D'Addario XT Phosphorus Bronze Extended Life Natural Feel medium gauge strings, color coded system. And let's start with the brass one. All right, how I usually do it, I try to get that thicker side to face me. Always get the thicker side to face towards me before I put the pin in. Usually what I do here is I will have the hole facing the nut slot here, and then I'll wrap the string once, twice, and then slide it through the hole here. And that's how I do it. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, but that's how I just prefer to do it. So I wrapped it around twice, and then I slid it through the back. I'm just gonna tighten it. And then we tune it. It's not perfect one-handed, but kind of get the idea. The built-in tuner. It's close enough for now. See, still gonna destabilize a little bit the more we stretch it, but basically in tune. Just tune it up a little bit. Of course the guitar is still gonna, neck is gonna stretch a bit with the more strings we put on it. So we'll put on the second one, or the fifth string, which is gonna be red, and we're just gonna do that for the strings and work our way down. We have the string in. If you notice that the pin, the open side, is facing towards the string, and we're just gonna push down on that. Pull a little bit. One of the things I like to keep track of is when I'm tuning the string. Once I have it attached, right now it's not attached, once I have it attached to the tuning peg and I'm tuning it up, when I'm tuning, I like to hold this down while I tune, because sometimes you never know, there's always that one that wants to pop out. Something I remembered is that when you get to the smaller strings, you only need to probably do about once, because there'll be a lot of slack for the smaller strings. And so I just wrapped it once and then slid it through. See here, I did it twice and I ended up using a lot more slack, so you end up having more layers. But with the thicker strings, if you just do about twice, that should be enough to lock it into place. There's always that worry that the B or the E string is going to break on me when I'm putting on new strings. But with the D'Addario XT, the high carbon steel strings, I just worry a little bit less. Alright, the new strings are on and relatively in tune. They'll probably get out of tune a little bit because they're still kind of new and stretching. But now we just need to cut the excess off. Just get some wire cutters. I don't have any really proper ones yet. You know, you would think after all this time I would get some proper ones, but make it easier. But you know, just use what you have. So we got the strings cut, and I just tend to move them a little bit out of the way, less likely to get caught in there somehow. Alright, we will be adjusting the truss rod on my acoustic guitar using the MusicNomad guitar setup tools and gauges here. So first we're going to need the MusicNomad truss rod gauge, and then of course we're going to need a truss rod wrench. And my particular guitar, for the acoustic guitar, needed a 4mm wrench. And then we're also going to use this pick capo, and we're going to put it on the first fret. Looks lined up. It's pressed down. It's going to be a little tricky, but we're going to press down on the 12th fret here, and then place the gauge on the 6th fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. Looks like it's not touching, so we are going to go clockwise. See the truss rod right there? I'm going to slide the wrench into there, and then we're going to turn it clockwise about 1/8 of a turn. Let's try this again, pressing down on the 12th fret a little bit more. I'm gonna have to do this little by little. What do you think? How does it look? We are going to be using the string action gauge to test the string action height. And first you're going to want to capo the first fret. In case you don't have the pick capo, I guess you can use the regular capo to capo that. Then we are going to try and check the 12th fret here with the height gauge. And what we want to do is see if the string sits on top of the number of the line, which we're going for the 1.75, which we're going for the low action, most common for a finger style. So you can see it's just right on there. I mean, it can probably go lower just a little bit, just like a hair, but I think that's fine. It's fine for me, or at least for now anyway. But if you did want to lower it just a smidge, you'd have to shave off a little bit here, just barely, a little bit. But let's just check the other side first. Now we put the pick capo to fret the E string here. We're here on the 12th fret here. We need to be above the line. Okay, on the 12th fret, it looks like we're a little too low with the action. I'm gonna have to raise it up a little bit. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a detour and see about raising this up a little bit. So there's temporary fixes we can do, like you could probably use super glue, but we are going to be using Blufixx. This one is the plastic white housing. Alright, you see we removed the string. So we're going to keep trying, adding a little bit of a layer each time. until we get it to the right height. Alright, as you can probably see how we raised the height. Alright, it's just barely where we need it. That's fine. At least fine enough. Fine enough. So yeah, there's a temporary fix. Plus it may or may not change the tone a little bit. Subtly maybe. We are looking at the MusicNomad radius gauge. There's two of them. But this one I need because it has the 16-inch radius. That's what my neck radius is for my Seagull guitar, acoustic guitar. Everything seems fine. Sometimes what I do is shine a light behind this to see if there's like any sparkle, that there's like a gap missing, because sometimes it's hard to tell from this angle, but it's easier to see if there's a light shining behind it. Then you can see the gap better. Alright, we raised up the third string to the height it needed to be from the MusicNomad guitar setup gauge tool set. We are going to use the MusicNomad nut height gauge, and here we have it set for the low E and A guitar. Just a little bit, needs to go down a little bit. So we will be adjusting the nut height for the low E string. So we'll be using 0.056 gauge here, and you just don't have to do too much. We just need only a little bit. It's better to do a little bit at a time. Little bit at a time. Alright. It lightly touches without really lifting up the string at all. But I can feel it. I can feel it lightly touching, and there doesn't seem to be any buzz. All right, it sounds like it's good. We can move on to the next string. Oh, another thing to keep in mind: when I first started, I didn't really understand the instructions. I mean, it would seem obvious. It said here, if there's touch, yes. No buzz, okay. So what I kept doing at the beginning when I first started, it was up. Let's say I would have it held there, and like, okay, is that considered buzz or not? But I guess you're supposed to remove it, then check if there's no buzz. Next string may have to go up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to refill the nut just slightly, just to get this to lightly touch. String back on and tune it back up. You can see there's a gap for the A string. Needs to go a little bit lower. Okay, so I need to lower this 5th string slot down on the nut, but there's one problem. The string that I have is a 45, but all I have is a 42. And there's two things you can do: make your life easier and get one that's 45 or above. But if you don't, one thing you can do is to, of course, make your cut, and then if it needs to go a little wider, you're not going in, but just shaving the sides of it to kind of scoop in there to make a little bit more room. Alright, it seems to be good. But it looks like it lightly touches without lifting the string, and it looks good. Any buzz? Nope. Now we've been moving on to the D and G string for the guitar, and it looks like too low. I'm bumping into it, lifting up the string, so the action's a little too low. We gotta raise it up just a little bit. We are a little short. We have the 32 here from the set, so with the MusicNomad 32, we're a little small because we need a 35. but that should be fine. Because of course, again, if it just happens to be, it just make your life easier to have the right gauge. But if you don't, just all you have to do is shave the sides of it. Instead of going down into it, just more shave the sides downward to make a little bit more room. Here we are testing the D string. Seems like it lightly touches. Seems good. No buzz. The height of the G string. See how it lifts up the string? The action for the G is too low. So we filled this up a little bit with the Blufixx, just a little bit. Now I've got to cure it. From our Acoustic Nomad file set for the acoustic guitar, we have the 24, but there's also another small problem again, that we need a 26. So again, one way, your main idea is just to shave the sides just a little bit. It's a little tricky trying to hold the camera, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. It seems good, like it's lightly touching. Any buzz? No buzz. We are moving to the B and high E of the guitar, the 40mm. The B string looks good. No adjustments, mainly because the gauge is probably still the same. As for the E string, but it may just be a little high, just a little bit. From the MusicNomad, the file set for the acoustic, we're gonna need the 13, and luckily that's the right size that we need. We don't have to make any funny adjustments. It was just a little high. Just doing a little bit. One more check, and it looks good. It's just looks like it's lightly touching. Is there any buzz? Nope. I'll be using my Strobel Stomp HD to tune my acoustic guitar and checking the intonation. So we have the E relatively in tune. Now the tricky part is to tune at the 12th fret. Okay, so we have the E relatively in tune. We're gonna go for the equal. Make sure no sweetened tunes, just straight chromatic. Now we're gonna check the 12th string here. It seems to be in tune for the E string. But yeah, we're gonna check each string and due to the complexity of intonation of acoustic guitars, you may have to send it into a shop. But hopefully, if we did everything correctly, the intonation will be correct. Okay, the A is relatively in tune, and let's try the intonation of the 12th fret. But it seems to be holding. Alright, let's move to the D. Okay, the D seems to be stable enough. Now let's do the 12th fret intonation. Relatively. Alright, so let's move on to the G string. Seems to be holding. Now let's try to go to the 12th fret. It's mainly the pickups. The G seems to be holding very well at the 12th fret. Let's go to the B. B seems good. The B seems to be holding well enough. Okay, let's move to the E. Okay, let's tune it up a little bit. Seems to be holding. Alright. Let's go to the 12th fret, E. The E is sort of holding in place. So that was a bit of the setup for my acoustic guitar. You know, we adjust the string action, the nut height, put new strings, polished the fretboard, put some new oil on it, the Dunlap 65. We have some of the tools we used, my Shovel Stomp HD Peterson for the tuner. We have the nut filers by MusicNomad, the gauges to set up the guitar, and then I got my Groove Tech truss rod wrench. And there's some other things we used, like the steel wool, some fret polisher, and then we have the detailer for the guitar. Give it a spray and wiped it down. So we're gonna have to wipe it down again. Yeah, but there's other things I need to learn about how to, you know, level the frets and do the other stuff. Maybe someday learn how to remove frets and put new frets in, because definitely my electric guitar definitely needs some new frets, or maybe, you know, getting the fret things that can polish them and level them. Maybe that will do the job, and recrown them somehow to make them like new again without having to replace the frets. There's a lot I need to learn, so I'm learning a little by little, and I know that they're making things like that make it easier to do those things in your own home, or to learn them yourself. So someday I'll get there. For now, I just do the basic setup